So before we get into this, spoiler alert, we're going into the season finale. You know, it just dropped. When this airs, it's Sunday. It's 2 days later. So if you haven't watched it, you might want to pause, watch the show, come back because we're going spoiler heavy.
We are going all the way in, pretty much as far as it goes.
Because this show, man, and this last episode was one of the wildest, craziest, most intense, and emotionally draining season finales I've ever watched. And it's animated. Like, you know, you get drained from all these live action TV shows and films, and this is an animated series that made you feel literally every punch that Omni-Man delivered to his son. Now, you know, what were your guys' thoughts? Marcus, I'll start with you. What was your thoughts? You know, Omni-Man spills the beans about how, you know, why he's really on Earth and what he's really here for. And obviously his son Mark doesn't agree with it because he was, you know, raised human. And then Mark gets the beating of a lifetime. And what are you thinking? What thoughts are rolling through your head right now?
Dude, yeah. I mean, when you say he gets a beating, he like literally got the living shit kicked out of him, beat out of him until there was nothing left. Maybe 2 teeth, I think, were left, and that was it.
Yeah, 2 teeth at least.
So, okay, beginning, right? The way that the episode ended the last week, when it was just them two, and they were just in the air together, and you're like, okay, so how is this gonna go at the start of the episode? The episode begins, and it picks up right where it left off, and immediately, the tension and violence that had been building up throughout the entire season just got released. This completely was an explosion. Mark just, I love that. By the way, that lasted half of the episode.
20
so
minutes.
The episode's like what, 48 minutes or something?
20 minutes.
It was like 22 minutes straight of just beats the smackdown the whole time. But what was interesting and emotional, what made it more emotional was that in between all the fighting would have these periods of, you know, his dad talking to Mark, trying to explain to him what he's doing, trying to get him to be on his side, to see things from his perspective. And Mark keeps shooting him down every step of the way, basically saying, I'm not going anywhere and I'm going to go down with the ship. If we're going to go down, I'm going to let it happen. And it was tough to watch, dude. It was brutally violent. It was that there was some points where I couldn't even, I was just feeling it in my chest. Like, man, for an animated show, this thing was kicking my ass too. And I'm sure you guys felt the same way, right?
Yeah. Yeah, to say the least, my friend. I don't even know where to begin. I think emotionally draining is probably the best way to sum it up. I think sometimes when I, not just the season finale, but throughout the entire season, I would forget that I'm watching an animated show. I really have no idea how that was possible. The show's brilliant. But the season finale, I think the buildup paid off. I mean, and this is coming from me, and I don't think neither of you guys had read Invincible beforehand, right?
Nope.
No.
Or were you familiar with like the story of Invincible or anything?
Nope.
Like that?
Nope. This was all brand new to me.
Same. So I you know, and in a way I was happy to not know anything. I just knew that it was a Robert Kirkman property. The trailer sold me, so I was in. I mean, the show has been an extremely violent show from the beginning, and I think this just, you know, I think when you saw the opening, you know, out in every episode, right before they say the word Invincible comes across the screen, and every time there would be more and more blood spattered on the word Invincible. So when you knew that Invincible was completely covered in blood, that you were going to be in for it.
It was soaked. It was soaked in blood.
The scene from the last episode where Mark and his father were just staring at each other, and Mark finally figured out, in a way, it just seemed like his whole world came crashing down on him, right? I mean, every son looks up to his father, and him included. I mean, his father is, you know, this all-powerful being that, you know, a Superman figure, so to speak. So for him to just basically see everything that he ever thought of his father just come crashing down. I mean, the show made you feel that. It made you feel that with, and I have to commend the the casting of voice actors, and I think that's a huge part of what sold it and what made everyone get so emotionally attached. I mean, at least for us three, you didn't even have actual, live action actors conveying these emotions. It was all animated, and that's just to commend again the animators and everything. I mean, but it was a draining episode. I definitely needed. I wanted to take a nap after that was done and just kind of process everything.
And the wild thing is, dude, like, if you look at last week's episode, right, and how physical and how violent that was, and for me going into this final episode, I have no clue where this whole show was going, right? I still have no direction for where it's going to go in the future, but from seeing all that violence, I thought that was intense. And then we flash forward a week later, today, and it was 30, 40, 50 times more brutal. I think it made it more emotional too, because not only was it just a fight between a father and son, and he was getting his ass handed to him, the whole world was watching, and no one could do anything about it. They all knew about it. No one could do a thing. They just had to watch this kid take the beating of a lifetime from his father. And I honestly I didn't think Mark was going to make it out alive. Like, I didn't know the direction for this show. I don't know if he's in it for a while or it's not. I guess it's named after the show, but like the way he was getting tossed around, and there was no way he was going to be able to live up to his dad's strength. You saw it. He was toying with him the whole time. The punches didn't even phase Omni-Man. I'm like, how does this end? Like, how does this fight not end with Mark's death? And it was wild. And there were so many moments. Like, we saw Mark's mom distraught because her life was crumbling before her. Thousands of people got murdered. And the scene that sticks out to me the most, there's two. The one in the subway, man, where Mark was just already pretty much beat up at this point. And Omni-Man goes, "Do you see these people? They're not worth our time," and just takes his head and holds him through a train, and hundreds of people died on his body. Hundreds. And he steps on an Omni-Man, after it's all done, steps on a piece of stone and kills another kid who's just barely alive. Like, intense, man.
Just to show his dominance, like it was relentless. As a viewer, you even felt helpless. You thought that, like, who's gonna beat him? There's no way. I mean, I was getting very like Zod-like vibes from him, especially with his what's the word I'm looking for? His allegiance, I guess, to his planet, and how he was born for one reason and one reason only, and he has a mission, and he's going to fulfill that mission, and there's no one that's going to stop him. So I really enjoyed that. I mean, J.K. Simmons is Omni-Man, like, just brilliant casting.
That's off, man.
But it was tough to watch. I mean, do you guys agree? I mean, some of those scenes where they would the camera would pan out and you would see children just covered in blood, like,
yeah.
It reminded me of the scene from Man of Steel, but it was sort of like the R-rated version of what happens in Man of Steel. Like, if we were to really go in and see exactly what happened from all those buildings falling.
Yeah.
Invincible said, "Here, we'll show you exactly what would happen if two powerful beings were to toss each other around Chicago in this case."
It just goes. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it was tough to watch at times.
Yeah, it goes to show you how insignificant that he thought that we all are. So how long he said he's lived for. He's lived for thousands of years, and in the grand scheme of things, his little time here pretty much means nothing to him. And just to force Mark to see it literally was trying to force him to see it from his point of view by holding his head there and using it as like a battering ram. And they're not getting hurt by that train, but can you imagine, like, these people are coming at you and, like, they're just disintegrating in front of your face because they're just, like, blasting through him.
Yeah.
And, like, he's going to be scarred for the rest of his life because of that. There's no way he comes out from that and is a normal person ever again.
So I have a question for you guys though. Like, what did you guys think the outcome of that fight was going to be? Because I'm curious. Because like I said, I thought at that time before we knew the finish of that fight, I didn't think Mark was coming out alive.
Yeah.
I didn't think he was. I thought he was gonna get some help from perhaps the Guardians that were there. I didn't think that they would win. It definitely, the way it was going, it doesn't seem like anything was gonna be able to stop him. So I thought they might have tried. I didn't see Mark dying because I knew, unfortunately, it was spoiled. You know, the day or earlier in the day that they released season 2 or they're gonna do season 2 and 3. So everybody knew that. I bet the executives saw it and they were like, "Yep, season 2 and 3, let's go."
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I thought I had there was a small part of me that I thought Omni-Man might be defeated. I didn't know how, but I had hoped because he was really pissing me off that whole time. He was really pissing me off.
Yeah. Same, dude. Like, I was literally, just sitting on my couch, just like, Mark, like, kick his fucking ass.
Yeah.
Dude. I can't, like, I really wanted him to beat the shit out of his dad. And there was a small part of me that almost thought, with Omni-Man really putting in his head, you and I are the same. We're the same. We can rule these people. Look how insignificant they are. Why would you risk your life for them? What have they done for you? I almost thought Mark, just, again, looking up to his father, was going to give in. And I really didn't want that to happen. But I almost thought at one point he was just going to give in to his father and it was going to go down a whole different path. And Mark was just going to be almost brainwashed, But Mark gives me this very Peter Parker-y kind of vibe. I don't know if he does the same for you guys.
100%.
And I wonder if asking, I'd love to ask Robert Kirkman. I'm sure, I mean, you can tell with a lot of the heroes in the show, there's definitely a lot of inspiration from other superheroes, iconic superheroes. And it's not just the whole high school, kind of, it reminds me of like this, almost like a John Hughes 80s kind of movie vibe going on when they're in high school and just him trying to balance that life with being a superhero and everything. But I'm glad Mark stuck to his guns. And Stephen Yeun, again, I know I keep calling these the voice actors out, but I can't help but not say it. He gave such a beautiful performance. I mean, when he was trying to convince his dad that you're different and you love me and you love mom, I know this. I felt that. Like,
Yeah.
it was, I was telling Laura, I'm like, I know, like, she's not really into the whole cartoon kind of thing, but it's so much more than that. It's so much more than that.
It is.
Like I said, I would watch it and forget that I was watching something animated, to be honest with you.
And I wanna dive into a little bit one line when Omni-Man's like, what do these people matter to you? Like, you're gonna be here for thousands of years. They're not gonna mean anything to you. Like, what will you have left? And he goes, I'll have you. Like,
yeah.
dude, that gave me the chills. And he's just like, he's like not even a person. He's like a blob. And that he utters those words, I'll have you. And that was the most impactful few words you could have put into that series, man. Like, again, I'm getting the chills just thinking about like that line. I'm watching an animated series and I wanted to tear up and cry at that moment. I'm like, holy shit. Like, that felt so powerful. And it just, it obviously triggered something in Omni-Man. He realized something in his brain which switched, I don't know how, because he was focused on decimating his son. It was either going to be kill him if he doesn't follow me or not kill him if he, ends up following me. But it went a different direction. And, for that powerful line, it just worked so well for how, it ended up going with him flying away after, seeing his grown-up son with 2 teeth, and it reminded him of his son, hitting a home run in baseball as a kid.
Yeah, they had that one moment, one little sliver of humanity when he probably most felt human-like in that moment, and he finally was able to relate just a little bit to what and actually kind of see what he was doing. And so I don't know, does that leave the door open, for him to potentially turn around, maybe take a switch? We'll save it to the end, right? Because I'm sure we'll talk about the direction of stuff. So, but I have an idea. but yeah, that was crazy, man. Yeah, it was really impactful. Um, dude, one thing you had mentioned earlier, time, we're talking about how when he was making everybody feel insignificant and it was tough on the family itself. When Mark's dad was just like, he called his mom his pet. You remember that?
I was gonna bring that
Dude,
up.
I was
yeah.
like, dude, that was
Yeah.
how much lower can you degrade somebody that you spent like your whole life with and made a kid with? And I mean, shit, man, that was like, damn, he really doesn't care about shit.
He even said he's just gonna make another. Remember, in the middle of
Yeah,
that fight, he's like,
I'll
I'll
just
just
do it
make another
again.
one. Yeah.
I was like, holy
I don't
shit.
know if he can be redeemed, Marcus. I think you were hinting, or you were gonna maybe pose that question, but I don't know. The more you talk about like that kind of stuff, like I know even though he didn't completely, disintegrate Mark, I don't know if he can be redeemed.
Look how many people he killed.
Yeah,
Thousands
and,
within.
without blinking an eye.
Yeah.
So I don't think he can be redeemed, but I do have an idea on where things might potentially be going.
Do you want to? We can dive into
Yeah.
that now if you want.
Yeah. Segue.
Okay, so you want us to start talking about the setup for the next season then, and
Yeah.
like some
Yeah.
of the things that we saw.
Sure.
So I guess just because I already started that thought, I'll just finish it then. You know how at the end, Seth Rogen's character, when he meets up with Mark and he says that, listen, like those people, they don't just take off and leave. They that never happens. And when the galaxy gets word of this, it's going to be on, right? It's going to be, everybody's going to be in disarray and there's going to be chaos, right? So I wonder if his people end up coming to Earth to finish the job for him, and he's going to have to come back and help save the planet with his son and everybody else. Not that he'll ever be redeemed for it, but that'll be his one shot to at least try. And I'm sure that would be like a season 3 thing.
Yeah.
But just a thought. That's going to be my prediction now at the end of season 1. So we'll see how close I get.
I agree. So I was thinking the same thing. Like season 3, I think we see the Vetramites. Is that what we call them? I forget. But
yeah, no, it's something with a V.
Yeah,
Vegemite.
It's Vegemites. Yeah.
Vegemite.
Speaking of like New Zealand and stuff like that, isn't that like an Australian?
See, it all comes full circle.
Full
peanut
circle.
butter or something like that. I don't mean to offend our Australian fans.
Nick's gonna come
I need
smack
to
you
educate-
real quick, Kev.
I know. I would smack myself. I need to educate myself and read our book. Yeah.
But no, so like my idea is that they come, the Viltrumites. So they'll come to invade Earth, and I think Omni-Man comes either, he helps Mark and sacrifices himself, or he helps Earth and just goes back to wherever he was. I don't think he stays. No one wants him there. Even if Mark's, happy, he won't be happy for the help. He'll take the help because he'll need it. And I don't think the wife's ever going to take him back. You have to be calling him a pet. But I think that's when we'll see Omni-Man again is season 3. And, it was really cool to see all the flashes and glimpses of all the stories that still have to get finished within, within the series. And I think we're going to see a lot of it in season 2. I think the Guardians of the Globe are really going to come together and, start being more of a presence and more integral to the story now that this ragtag group of, former Teen Titans are coming together and actually being the Guardians of the Globe. I think that's going to be cool to see. And, we see them washing off the blood that Omni-Man, created from destroying the original Guardians of the Globe in their HQ. So I'm excited to see that story arc.
I could see that happening with back to Omni-Man and potentially having to save Mark. If the rest of his, I'm sorry, what are they called again? I don't want to.
I think Viltrumites.
Vegemite.
Vegemites.
Viltrumites.
What are they called?
I think
Viltrumites.
it's Viltrumites.
Viltrumites?
Yeah.
I know, this is crazy. I just freaking watched the show like not too long ago. So when they find, I believe that they'll eventually come to Earth and do what they're supposed to do. And I could definitely see Omni-Man coming back to join them and finish the job, and then see either Mark or maybe his wife or both in a vulnerable state and do what he has to do and realize that they meant more to him than he thought. And then I could maybe see him sacrificing himself to save his family.
Yeah.
I don't know, and I've been thinking about like jumping into Invincible after watching the show.
Don't you dare! Don't you
But
dare!
that's what I mean. I don't know if I wanna read it. I mean, I heard there's actually a he used to be on Collider on YouTube, and his name's Coy. He used to be on a show called Collider Heroes, and he had gone live actually right after I had watched the episode. He had gone live on Instagram, and he was talking about Invincible, and there's so much more story to tell. Like within the season one, it's like a fifth of everything, and I think Ty, like you had mentioned, showing that montage of other characters and villains that I even forgot about from this season. One of the characters I really loved, and I can't remember his name, he actually ended up defeating Machine Head, and he has the ability to like change himself into like a rock or a rock person or something.
Yeah.
You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And he sort of like took over like as like a kingpin kind of role. I forgot about him, but that episode with him was one of my favorite episodes. And I was seeing all these, things going, all these crazy things. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember them. And so there's so much more story to tell.
Oh yeah.
And I cannot wait to continue on this crazy ass journey because I love it.
Dude. They some of the ones were the D.A. Sinclair, Ezra Miller's character, when he was making those robot monsters. And
he looked like Ezra Miller a little bit.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah. But he's making more like an army of those monster robots for Cecil to use. So hopefully, they'll have them on their side because they seem pretty powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, they gave Omni-Man a little bit of a handful for a second until he got the best of them. But if there's a whole army of them, maybe they have something in their back pockets.
An army of dead soldiers come back to life.
Yep. Then they showed those face-sucking aliens from Mars that they were like taking over the spaceship. So those things. Yeah. And then, like you said, the Guardians just training in that room, getting together. The team's getting together finally. A lot of them don't get along, but like they're realizing they're there for the same cause. Probably from watching Mark get his ass handed to him. If he's willing to do it, then they need to get in line and do it too.
Yeah.
They set up so many storylines for next season.
Yeah, well, it was cool because like for each episode, right? They had like that each story like that one-off villain type episode thing going on, right? With Mars, with the Rock dude, and it's cool to see that it comes full circle and it shows, hey, none of these are complete stories yet. And you're going to see them unfold, whether it's season 2, season 3, season 4, if it continues past that. And it's exciting because all those stories and all those different like villains and characters and arcs were all intriguing. Like every part, every episode, every little ounce of this show was amazing, and I want to see more of it. So I'm excited that we're going to see a ton more of it, and it's going to flesh out everything we've seen so far.
I think this is one of the best superhero shows I've ever seen.
Yes.
Period.
Seriously.
I mean, in a medium that's flooded with superheroes, and I mean, unless you're familiar with the Invincible comic, I mean, I'm sure a lot of diehard Invincible fans were super stoked to see that they were doing this animated series and then eventually do a live action film. You hear about this and for people who are just maybe the casual, like they got into it because of the MCU or something like that, are thinking, oh, got another superhero property. But I really encourage you to watch this. I know I've said before when we talked about Invincible, for fans of The Boys, I think would really like this. But don't just think you're seeing The Boys in an animated version. There's so much more. And not to take away from The Boys, because this show had a lot of heart. Yes, it was uber violent, and yes, the boys did have many moments where there was heart, but there was something I really enjoyed about. I think the innocence and the vulnerability of Mark Grayson, and you really felt for him, almost similar to a way that you feel for, like Peter Parker. someone who is given these abilities and wants to do good and has to balance real life and other things outside of doing that. And I think the show conveyed that really well. I just felt I was able to latch on to a lot of these characters and really feel for them. So yeah, I love the show. if I haven't said that already, I really love the show.
The amount of emotion that comes through. Honestly, I and I love The Boys just as much as you guys do. I absolutely adore that show, and I really can't wait for season 3. But to me, I think this show had a little more heart than that show did.
Oh,
I connected more with this show.
yeah.
It was more violent than The Boys. It was more heartfelt, more impactful. I loved the mystery that like they kind of just were kind of like holding the thin veil over our faces this whole season and slowly pulling it back a little bit, and you couldn't quite figure it out. And then it all came crashing down in this last episode, and it was just super satisfying. And but at the same time hard to watch too. So it's weird. You have a lot of emotions with this show, but overall masterful storytelling.